What's going on, everybody? So in this video we are going to be talking about the hottest NFT news you need to know right now. Before we get started, as you can see, I'm in a different setting, still traveling around in Los Angeles and San Francisco. Going to be back in my home base in Vietnam tomorrow, but for now this is a setup that we got, so let's go ahead and dive right in. So the first piece of news that I wanted to cover is going to be y00ts. Now, as you know, y00ts has been teasing for a long time that they were going to migrate from Solana onto Polygon, and the reason why they did that was because a lot of brands are now using Polygon, and Polygon also paid them millions of dollars to also go onto their platform or their chain as well. So a lot of people were speculating, like, is this migration going to be successful? Are they going to have any problems? And so far it seems like the migration has been successful and people actually are migrating, and they create different incentives for people to want to do that. So it worked. So it is possible, I guess, moving forward, right? It's kind of like historic in a sense that if someone were to change, whether it's Solana to Polygon, Polygon to Ethereum, it definitely is possible. And so to actually get people to migrate, what they did was that they said holders who migrate within the first 24 hours will be able to get 1 BTC DGODs, which is valued at like 0.9 Bitcoin right now, I believe, to 1 lucky y00ts winner. And the last thing they did to incentivize people is that they're enforcing this 33.3%, they call it paper hand bridge tax. Basically, if you continue to trade your y00ts on Solana, you're going to be hit with a 33.3% tax, which is actually pretty huge. Of course, nobody is going to want to keep their thing on Solana, right? Or keep their y00ts on Solana. So overall, pretty successful migration. Floor did dip a little bit from the migration, but you know, that's the news. Whenever there's any big news, people speculate on that. And then when the thing happens, usually it drops. So y00ts is still pretty healthy when it comes to the floor price. All right, next project that we are going to be talking about is going to be Otherside, which is one of the largest NFT companies in the space right now. So when we're going on the website, you know, Legends of Mara, essentially this is going to be a 2D game using the Otherside assets. Now, they didn't say what kind of game it is, but we can kind of speculate based on the information on their website, right? Okay, so everyone's going to be dropped this NFT over here, which are going to be called vessels, and there's going to be 3 types: the enchanter, the farmer, and the hunter, right? So, you know, each one based on its category is going to have different benefits, strengths, and weaknesses depending on how you want to play the game. There's a lot of it's not reviewed yet. It's just to get people to kind of get excited about it. And then from there, those vessels can basically evolve or hatch from their eggs, and they're going to be able to consume different NFTs or different resources to evolve in different ways, right? So it says here, fragments which can be fed to Mara are derived from a other deed sediment. So I guess depending on what land you have and what resources you have on that land, you're going to be able to feed that to your vessel. And not only that, but if you had a quota on your land, right, basically if you got lucky from buying at other deeds, you might have a trait where there's a quota standing on the land. You can basically decouple it, so your quota will be separated from your land, and then that NFT, the quota, is going to be very valuable when it comes to the ecosystem of this game. Yeah, so for me, what I find really interesting about this is that Yuga Labs is really good at creating value in their assets. Probably all the assets of the airdrop are probably going to have value as well. The quotas are going to have value. Everything has value, right? Because they know how to have a long-term vision of like what this Otherside metaverse potentially could be. And who knows, right? It might take years and years and years for that to actually be developed into something that the mainstream actually plays. But along the way, they're really good at capturing the attention for the now, doing these airdrops, creating value out of thin air. It's basically a masterclass when it comes to that. So Yuga Labs definitely has been killing it, especially over the past like 6 months. And of course, one thing I also add is they have a lot of money, a lot of VC money, and because of the amount of money they have, they can create value in different ways. So it's something to keep in mind if you know what I'm saying. Now, some other pieces of news: Nasdaq supposedly is going to be launching a crypto custodial services in Q2 2023. We definitely have seen companies create like stocks in a way that you can buy that kind of represent Bitcoin. For example, like Grayscale did like a Grayscale Bitcoin, and then they did an Ethereum version of this, and they had all these other alternative coins, and just kind of like taking the coin and turning it into a stock and allowing people to buy that. The problem is the value of the stock right now, I believe, is trading at a huge discount relative to the value of the asset, so it's not really matched. So it's like you're kind of losing money in a sense when you're buying the stock instead of just buying the real thing. So if Nasdaq has a better way to do it, or maybe they just want more control over crypto in general, it's quite interesting to watch. So I'm kind of following to see like what their plans are once we see more concrete proof. But the main point I want to drive is like, hey, you know, they're actually looking into crypto, and they do want to take a piece of the pie when it comes to, you know, mainstream adoption when this eventually does happen. All right, so the next piece of news that we have is that Proof is partnering with this company Transient Labs, and they're going to be thrilled to announce Outliers, a new program for digital creators who are pushing technical barriers, innovating through their artwork. What I can gather from this is they're going to have a cohort of artists, right? So they actually named the artists over here. So I'm sure they have like varying degrees of success when it comes to these artists. And then from there, they're going to work with these people to create something unique and then sell it into their audience. Now, this is very interesting because it's literally like a modern day contemporary art gallery where they're basically finding artists who are kind of under the radar that have potential. And then through their networks and through the amount of money that they have to create value into this art, they're going to be working together to uplift these artists, right? And it's interesting for me because for contemporary art, essentially, if you are the gallery, which is Proof and Transient Labs kind of play that role in this situation, they can find the artist, create work that they think will sell. And then from there, if they hold a lot of these assets, I'm not saying they will or won't, but they could, one day those assets will be valuable in the future if they continue to pump it up, right? And for contemporary art, most artists will not make it. So I think it's like less than 10% chance, according to some of the books I've read. I think it's even worse than that, actually. It might be like less than 5%. So yeah, I mean, Proof has always been like kind of like that modern day art gallery for Web3. So I definitely see this as a pretty interesting move for sure. So in other news, Otherside has made an official collaboration with Gucci. Now, there's not a whole lot of information about what this collaboration entails, but from what I can gather, it's going to be highly related to the 10K TF, which Yuga Labs has acquired. And it's possible, and people are just speculating, that Gucci's perfume lines are going to be heavily playing a role in terms of what this collaboration looks like. So not enough information to say yet. You know, if we look at the 10K TF Gucci Grail NFTs, you know, this is some of the stuff they came out with in the past, right? Basically taking Gucci products and putting it onto like different NFTs. So we'll see what the collaboration looks like as we get more information. Now, the final piece of news that we have for you today is that Magic Eden forms a Web3 gaming collective with leading publishers and communities. So basically, NFT Marketplace teamed up with Yield Guild Games, Game 7, Phoenix Games, and I'm sure they're going to get more people together. And if you think about it, it's just a bunch of companies working together for a common goal, which is getting mainstream adoption, getting people to play their games, use their platforms, getting revenue cuts. So it's interesting to see like people coming together for that common goal. And I'm sure we're going to see much more of that in the future. So with that said, that is everything we got to cover for this video, and I will see you in the next one.